Now, just a dozen days left until the election, and the campaign visits just keep piling up in battleground Wisconsin. We'll have an update next. Also, during this homecoming week, how you can give UW a big boost by adding to the tradition of filling the hill. And we'll tell you about a surprise show in a small Madison venue. Rock star Jack White, find out where and when and why the tickets are already gone. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. And first at 5, some breaking news on one of America's most infamous murder cases, as prosecutors will recommend the resentencing of Eric and Lyle Menendez for the 1989 killings of their parents at the family's Beverly Hills home. Now, this could provide the brothers with a chance at freedom after 34 years behind bars. The brothers admitted to killing their parents, but claimed it was out of fear after years of sexual abuse by their father. Now, new evidence includes allegations supporting their claims of abuse from a former member of the Puerto Rican boy band Menudo. And while some family members are calling for their release, others are asking for the original sentences to remain. As we mentioned, 12 days to go until the election. Both campaigns are continuing their dash through the currently tied swing states. Former President Donald Trump has announced he'll be at the Resch Center in Green Bay next Wednesday. As for campaign surrogates, former presidential candidate and Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard will be in Madison tomorrow. She'll actually be at Five Bridges Farm out in Oregon at 2 in the afternoon. Transportation Secretary and former presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg will be visiting Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac this Saturday. Well, the Rock County Medical Examiner's Office says it has identified the man who died after falling from a boom truck in Rock County. 59-year-old Timothy Gillitzer of Milton died Saturday morning from injuries suffered in the fall at the Rock County 4-H Fairgrounds. Gillitzer and a 62-year-old woman fell out of that boom. She survived, but was treated for injuries. Both Gillitzer and the woman were Rock Energy Cooperative employees. Time now for a look at your first warned forecast. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington joining us on the weather patio. Alex.
Hey, Eric. Hey, Southern Wisconsin. As I look off towards the west here, I can see the thick clouds starting to move towards the Madison area. These are clouds streaming ahead of this weather system that's going to bring a good chance for rain, for showers and thunderstorms to all of southern Wisconsin tonight. We can see that on Storm Tracker. Looking off to the west, some scattered showers and thunderstorms have popped up near Waterloo, near Mason City, and south and west of Minneapolis. And this will fill in more as we progress through the evening. Future track as we move towards 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Southwestern Wisconsin becoming more widespread as we head towards 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. A little small hail. We can't rule that out with some of these showers and storms. We're already in the low to mid 60s, so a mild evening across southern Wisconsin and in Dane County. These temperatures again above normal by about 5 degrees. Also coming up in Maine weather with the tracking of tonight's showers and thunderstorms. 80-degree weather back in the forecast.
All right, Alex, thank you. A Badger tradition underway right now. UW faculty, staff, alums, and fans can support the school by purchasing a flamingo for the annual Fill the Hill fundraiser. Tanisha Shaw live now at Bascom Hall. Tanisha, this is the quiet before the flamingo storm, right?
Yes, this is the quiet before the flamingo storm. Take a look at Bascom Hill right now. It's very quiet. You see students are studying, nothing going on. But by tomorrow morning, they will be filled with these pink flamingos. I am here with Betsy. You're the director of annual giving. So first of all, tell me about this tradition that we know and love.
You bet. It started in 1979 with the student group, the Pail and Shovel Party, and they planted 1,008 pink flamingos here in Bascom Hill the first day of class. So it was a huge hit, and then about 12 years ago, we started making it into a fundraiser. So now it's actually just started online, uwflamingos.com. You can head there and make a gift to support the university.
Okay, so today at 5 p.m., they can start donating online.
Yes.
Why the pink flamingos?
It's just such a fun tradition to bring back, and as people make gifts online, we plant pink flamingos here on Bascom Hill. So hopefully by the end of the day, the entire hill is covered and we see the impact of generosity here for UW.
So within those 12 years, how much money has the organization raised?
Yeah, it's been over $3 million, so it's really tremendous. And what's even greater is just the amount of Badger support we've had over the years. Last year we had about 3,000 gifts, and we'd love to exceed that this year, but we were really excited to rally the Badger community together in support of UW.
Okay, and where does that money go?
All sorts of places across campus. There are over 100 places you can make a gift. So if you head over to wflamingos.com, you can find the cause that you support and really support the university.
Absolutely. So feel free to use that link to support. Tonight at 6, we're going to be talking about this tradition and the other UW traditions that you can take part of at UW. Back to you, Eric.
All right, Tanasia, thank you. Big weekend on campus. And another favorite part of homecoming week, of course, is the homecoming parade. And if you plan on driving around downtown early tomorrow evening, you will want to take a look at your screen right here. We have plenty of street closures to tell you about. They'll start at 4 o'clock. That'll start on Langdon between Lake and Wisconsin Avenue. Wisconsin Avenue also closes at 4 from Langdon over to West Gilman. And West Gilman from State to Wisconsin Avenue will close at 5. Northbound Lake Street will close from University to Langdon at 6. All streets will be back open by just after 8. Again, the parade begins at 6. In a new report, the Stoughton Opera House is bringing more than just entertainment to the city. Between this year and last, the Opera House brought in over $3 million for local businesses. Opera House staff compiled information for the report showing they made a big jump from just 12 shows a year back in 2007 to 80 shows this year, bringing in more foot traffic to the city. And of the money brought into Stoughton, it was spent on hotels, restaurants, shops, and local businesses. After a 2-year Wisconsin hiatus, rock star Jack White is playing a surprise show here in Madison. The announcement for the show was announced just this afternoon at the High Noon Saloon on East Washington Avenue down the street from the Sylvie. Now, the catch is the show is tonight in the 300-person capacity venue. Tickets, as I mentioned, went on sale just 4 hours ago and have already sold out. One fan saw White's band play in Madison years ago and says she is excited for tonight's show.
I saw the White Stripes at OK's when they first played in Madison, and there was hardly anybody there. Students had already gone home, and to be able to see them at another small venue at Kathy's next small venue is amazing. This will be wonderful.
And there were a handful of students who were able to get their tickets for the reduced price of $25. Otherwise, the average ticket price was about $125. A strike of about 33,000 workers continues after union members voted down a proposed contract deal yesterday. Boeing's latest contract offer of a 35% raise over 4 years was better than the last one of 25%. But many union members say they want more, like the return of pensions. Boeing's third quarter earnings report out yesterday shows a net loss of more than $6 billion. And a Colorado man has filed the first lawsuit against McDonald's related to the E. coli outbreak linked to Quarter Pounders. The outbreak has led to at least 49 illnesses and 1 death in 10 states. That does include Wisconsin. Eric Stelly's lawyer says he tested positive for E. coli after a few days of pain and is still recovering. The lawsuit accuses McDonald's of product liability, negligence, and breach of implied warranties. It was filed Wednesday in a Cook County, Illinois court. That's where McDonald's is headquartered. The lawyer representing Stelly says he is also representing at least 10 other victims of the outbreak. Well, do you feel guilty when you take time off of work? You aren't alone. A study from Kick Resume surveyed people from Wisconsin and also in Europe, finding that 1 in 3 Americans often feel guilty for taking time off work. That is compared to just 18% in Europe. And when looking at those who don't feel guilty at all, nearly half of Europeans don't feel bad about taking a holiday compared to 1/3 of Americans. You may have heard the phrase support local businesses, and one task force in Mineral Point is taking that to the next level. Our Elie LaLiberte has the story.
In Mineral Point, a town of 2,500 people, you'll find Keith Burrow's bookstore.
I've lived in Mineral Point for 17 years. The bookstore's new. We opened about 1 year and 4 months ago.
Keith loves his town.
We were 23 years old, and we didn't know anyone in town, but it turned out to be the best decision we ever made.
Loves it so much, he wants to see it grow.
So this isn't about filling empty storefronts with anything. It's about finding the right businesses that will thrive in Mineral Point and that will help Mineral Point thrive.
Keith is a part of a group of business owners, city officials, and realtors called the Business Task Force. It helps entrepreneurs get connected to resources and grant money.
We started because there's a need for businesses that want to come into the community or entrepreneurs that want to start a business that don't know how to start. Nicole at the Book Kitchen's a perfect example.
In the back of the bookstore, you'll find Keith's business partner, Nicole, in what she calls a book kitchen.
I had a kind of a list of questions and a list of things that I needed to troubleshoot, and it seemed like everyone around the table, there was like one person who had this expertise to kind of walk me through what, what was required, what I needed to do to get started.
With the Book Kitchen, Nicole teaches cooking classes.
I think the bookstore and the Book Kitchen are a good example of rural revitalization, where having those two businesses operate in the same space, it brings more energy to the space. It brings more people through to the space.
The task force has helped over 9 businesses like Nicole's since it started after the pandemic and is ready to take on its newest project, a parking garage.
So it's been sitting there for a few years now, unused, and we really want to find the next owner for it who can redevelop it and make use of the space.
So there are potentially tax incentives within the city to help support whoever takes over that space.
Making use of the space by turning it into something like a brewery or a restaurant. And for Keith, it's an opportunity to share the love for his community with others.
We want Mineral Point to continue to be a great place to live and a great place to visit.
Reporting in Mineral Point, Elial Liberté, News 3 Now.
And to submit a request for a development proposal for the parking garage, you can visit cityofmineralpoint.com. The task force is willing to help anyone interested get started. Well, Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington is back next with a closer look at tonight's rain chances, how that could help us out when it comes to our very dry conditions. The latest warnings from the DNR just ahead. And on Wall Street, the Dow falls for a 4th straight day, down more than 140 points. NASDAQ adds 139. S&P 500 up a dozen, and we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, brought to you by Cardinal Heating and Air Conditioning.
We know we cannot have a strong middle class without American manufacturing. Under Donald Trump, America lost nearly 200,000 manufacturing jobs. His record is a disaster for working people. Under my plan, we will invest in the industries that built America, because ours is a fight for the future. I come from the middle class, and I will never forget where I come from.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
We need leadership focused on addressing rising costs, prioritizing quality schools. But Elizabeth Grabi, endorsed by a group that would take power away from local school boards and put state bureaucrats in charge. And Grabi's backed by extremists who wanted to defund the police. Elizabeth Grabi, dangerously out of touch. Todd Novak is our trusted independent voice, helping families with rising costs, delivering funding for local law enforcement and emergency services, investing in rural broadband and our schools. Todd Novak for Assembly.
When it comes to your critical medical decisions, you should have the final say. But extreme politician Joan Ballweg says you're wrong. She supports criminalizing abortion even after rape and incest. Or to save the life of the mother, Ballweg would jail doctors for giving life-saving care. And Ballweg even wrote the law that could deny women access to birth control. Joan Ballweg would put extreme politicians in charge of your body and put all Wisconsin women in danger.
When my husband got throat cancer, it wasn't just a health crisis. It was a financial one for my family. And that's something rural families know all too well. Joan Ballweg voted against expanding affordable health care for rural families and against bringing drug costs down. And that's one reason I decided to run against her. I'm Sarah Kieski, and I'm running for state senate. Because when someone you love needs medical care, the last thing you should have to worry about is how to pay for it.
When I was 27, I was diagnosed with MS. That's life-altering news. I had to prioritize my health and start taking medication. Back then, these cost $6,000 a year. Now the generics cost 5 times that. Senator Baldwin claims she's fighting to lower drug prices, but she's taking millions from Big Pharma and works for them. I'm not taking their money. I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. I'll fight the corruption and lower drug prices because I've lived it.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Every day without rain means a higher risk of wildfires. In just the last week, there have been 82 of them in the state, 32 caused by improper equipment use. That includes trailer chains, mowing equipment, and tractors. The Wisconsin DNR recommending some tips to prevent further wildfire outbreaks. Secure dragging parts and trailer chains to avoid sparks while driving. Avoid operating vehicles on dry grass. Maintain brakes and other high-wear parts to stop metal-on-metal contact. And operate equipment like chainsaws, off-road vehicles, and lawnmowers early in the morning or late in the day to prevent sparks. Well, we are a week away now from Halloween, a night of ghosts and ghouls and mountains of candy, but it's also a night to be looking out for the little werewolves and princesses. Blaine's Farm and Fleet with some important safety reminders to have fun, but a frightful night. Flashlights may not work with some costumes, but you can get creative with helping your kids stay bright and visible using glow sticks, reflective tape, or a do-it-yourself lightsaber can always make a costume pop. And they also say make sure the costumes fit, aren't baggy, avoid trips and falls, especially when crossing the street. They say face paint can offer more visibility as well and allow you to get more creative while saving some cash. Established ground rules remind the trick-or-treaters to stick together and always cross at corners, not in the middle of a block. Lastly, set a candy budget. It's easy to get sick stomach, eat too much too fast. Space it out over the next weeks and months. And we also need it to be a decent forecast out there. Never know with Halloween, Alex, what we're going to get, but it doesn't look too bad, right?
No, it actually is looking great. I know some of these past years we've been getting used to it being cold on Halloween, snow on Halloween. I don't see that in our Halloween forecast. It's looking pretty good. But we got to get through a couple of storm systems first. Here's storm system number 1 getting its act together over portions of Iowa. We even have a severe thunderstorm warning near the Mason City area. These are thunderstorms that will eventually become more widespread and move off towards the east, towards southern Wisconsin. Clouds are filling in our Queen Bee radio sky cam. This is actually looking at some of those showers and thunderstorms off to the southwest in Iowa. A few of these storms will have the potential to produce some small hail over portions of southern Wisconsin. Not expecting widespread severe weather this evening, just more of the garden variety type storms. 61 in Madison. This is one concern that I have. With rainfall tonight, the humidity is very low. So as these storms move east, it's going to have to battle some of that dry air across southern Wisconsin. Planning the evening, 60 as you join us at 6 o'clock, 55 at 8 o'clock. And when you join Jacob, those scattered showers and thunderstorms are on the air with temperatures down into the 50s. Here are those scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms stretching perhaps as far east as Madison to just south of the Dells near 8 o'clock, becoming more widespread as we go towards the 12 o'clock hour. Kind of two pieces to the area of showers and thunderstorms. One piece to the north of the Dells, the other piece from the Dells, Wisconsin, River Valley, and points south. That's where the more widespread showers and storms will be. Areas off towards the northwest, over towards La Crosse. You might miss out on a good portion of this rain. Unfortunately, wish I had better news. Scattered showers then moving out of the area as we go into the Friday morning time frame. That's when we'll see our temperature the coolest in the upper 40s to right around 50. Here's the water we're expecting, 1/4 to 1/2 inch from the Wisconsin River Valley to Madison and points to the south and over towards the north and east. As I mentioned, north and west of Madison could be looking at a little bit less in the way of water out towards Viroqua and out towards Richland Center at maybe 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. This is weather system number 1 that I was alluding to here, and with drought conditions continuing to expand across southern Wisconsin, we're all under a moderate risk of dry conditions across southern Wisconsin. That severe area from our drought monitor over portions of southwestern Wisconsin. Again, an indicator here, drought conditions are continuing to worsen as we are, again, not having many rain chances. Here's another rain chance as we go into Wednesday afternoon and evening along a cold front. Could see a strong storm or two if we can get enough heat and moisture out ahead of that front. It will be warm Tuesday all the way up to 80 degrees, still in the 70s on Wednesday. Overnight lows in the 60s. Unbelievable warmth as we head towards that weather system. And there's Halloween. Seasonal temperatures, maybe a little patchy frost that night of Halloween night with temperatures where they should be for this time of year. Right now, traffic showing things are going good eastbound and westbound. Speeds are decent for the 5 o'clock hour. As we look towards the south down towards Janesville, decent speeds as well. Not seeing any incidents or accidents here, and speeds right around 70 miles per hour up towards the Dells. So not a bad evening, and as I like to say, it's mild out there. Maybe you can crack the window open a little bit out there as it overall looks nice, but the windshield wipers will be going in a couple of hours here as that shower and thunderstorm activity moves in to southern Wisconsin. Eric?
Alex, thank you. Next at 5, how the FAA is trying to get a handle on near collisions at American airports after too many close calls. The story just ahead.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
During COVID, Joan Ballwig took $500,000 in federal loans she never paid back. Then voted to block assistance to help other Wisconsin businesses grow. Joan Ballwig, out for herself, not you.
My husband and I were elated to find out that we would be having another baby. But after many tests, my doctors agreed that we had to terminate the pregnancy. It was the worst day of my life. You should know that Eric Hubdy supports laws that stop me and my doctor from making that decision. And that's a ban with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. It's a ban that could turn doctors into criminals. He opposes abortion, period.
WIN Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
You have a clear choice in this election. Senator Baldwin is a 38-year career politician. I'm a businessman and job creator. She supports taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. I'll close the border. Tammy wants to put guys and girls sports in their bathrooms. I'll protect our daughters. Senator Baldwin abuses the political system. I'll fight the corruption. I'm Eric Hubdy, and I approve this message. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Meet Sarah Kieski. You might see her walking around in her Woke Genius t-shirt. Radical, just like the groups that support her. Kieski supporters want to defund the police. Her allies want to give voting rights to illegals and make it easier for felons to vote. And Kieski is backed by a group that wants to let criminals out early. Want to know where Sarah Kieski stands? Just look at the company she keeps.
It seems like everyone in Washington is either too far left or too far right. I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'll stand up to Democrats to fight for a secure border and stop wasteful spending. I'll stand up to extremists like Derek Van Orden, who wants to ban all abortions with no exceptions. Like you, I'm fed up and ready for change. I approve this message because it's time that we sent one of us to Congress.
This is China, and this is Wisconsin. Joan Ballwig invested thousands of dollars in Chinese companies, but voted against using state funds to help grow companies here in Wisconsin. Joan Ballwig, out for herself, not you.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
The FAA has started an audit of 45 major airports aiming to reduce close calls on runways. Just days ago in San Diego, air traffic controllers briefly put 2 Southwest planes on a potential collision course. Chris Van Cleve talks about the dangers with 2 pilots who survived yet another close call.
Southwest aboard.
As this NTSB animation shows, a FedEx 767 came within 150 to 170 feet of landing on top of a Southwest 737 at the Austin, Texas airport last February. It was an extremely foggy morning. Air traffic controllers in the tower couldn't see the runway, but cleared the Southwest flight to take off and FedEx to land. FedEx Captain Hugo Carvajal was at the controls.
And as soon as the tower cleared them to take off, we knew that there was an issue because we were about 3 miles, which is too close at that point.
Just moments before possible disaster, FedEx First Officer Robert Pradine saw something through the fog below.
I saw a light that turned out to be the position light on the Southwest airplane, and quickly saw the silhouette following that and called for a go-around.
What goes through your mind as you're seeing an airplane that shouldn't be there?
Obviously, there's a moment of disbelief. Am I really seeing this? Is this really an airplane right there? And then training and experience kick in.
Last Wednesday, another close call near the Austin airport when the FAA says a Cessna unexpectedly flew within hundreds of feet of an American Airlines 737 on approach to land from Chicago, forcing the pilots of American Flight 2587 to take an evasive maneuver before landing safely. And earlier this month in San Diego, controllers briefly put 2 Southwest planes on a potential collision course after clearing one plane to taxi across the runway the other was using to take off.
Southwest 1478, cancel takeoff clearance.
Former NTSB Chair Robert Sumwalt was part of an FAA committee reviewing close calls that made 24 safety recommendations.
I certainly think things are moving in the right direction. It's important that those of us in the aviation profession, we not lose vigilance and that we continue to push for better procedures, better technology, better staffing, and that we don't get complacent.
The FAA says close calls, especially those happening on runways, are rare and on the decline. In a new audit, the agency will look to identify any additional gaps in procedures, equipment, or processes at the nation's 45 busiest airports. Recommendations to further reduce the risk of runway close calls are expected by next year. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
And we'll be right back. A final check of your first warn forecast.
I'm Joan Ballwig, and I'm here to set the record straight. I support birth control, the life and health of mothers, extending postpartum care, and fertility treatments, including IVF. I'm Joan Ballwig. I have always fought for Wisconsin moms, and I always will.
I'm sick and tired of getting ripped off by career politicians. And Tammy Baldwin, she's one of the worst. Baldwin's in bed with Wall Street. While she sleeps in her girlfriend's $1 million condo in New York City, Wisconsin families are getting hammered by high inflation and handouts for illegal immigrants. Tammy and her girlfriend are living large while Wisconsin families foot the bill. Frankly, it's time for Tammy Baldwin to go.
I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message. Join my team and give today.
When my husband got throat cancer, it wasn't just a health crisis. It was a financial one for my family. And that's something rural families know all too well. Joan Ballwig voted against expanding affordable health care for rural families and against bringing drug costs down. And that's one reason I decided to run against her. I'm Sarah Kieski, and I'm running for state senate. Because when someone you love needs medical care, the last thing you should have to worry about is how to pay for it.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing. Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. Why hasn't she done it?
4 years, radical Kamala Harris created the border crisis. Thousands of accused murderers, rapists, even terrorists pour in. Each crime they commit makes American victims. Innocent victims of Kamala's open border agenda. They were bludgeoned, raped, strangled, stabbed, shot, and murdered. Kamala created the border crisis. She won't fix it now. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Eric Hovde owns a $3 billion California bank. That's right, he owns it.
And a $7 million mansion on the beach.
Eric Hovde proposed $4 trillion in new tax breaks for rich guys just like him.
And to pay for it, Hovde would cut Social Security by 28%.
Slash Medicare 25%.
And veterans benefits 40%.
Outrageous. Now we know what's wrong with Eric Hovde. This guy is not for us.
Sarah Kieski, she supports lifting revenue limits, allowing property tax rates to skyrocket unchecked. Kieski's backers want to ban natural gas to heat our homes, driving utility bills through the roof. That's Kieski's record, expensive and extreme.
Halloween excitement already sweeping through England in the Halloween House. It's the largest superstore for the spooky and creepy in England. 8,000 square feet. It offers costumes, props, and eerie animatronics that draw in shoppers from far and wide. Halloween generally is not celebrated quite as heavily as it is here in the United States, but countries all around the world are picking up on the fun. Alex rejoins us once again. A final check of the first warn forecast, and rain coming in.
Rain on the way. When you think of Halloween, sometimes you think of lightning and thunder. Well, we might have a little bit of that in our forecast for tonight. Future track showing scattered showers and thunderstorms pushing into southern Wisconsin as early as 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock over southwestern Wisconsin, becoming more widespread as we go towards the latter evening hours. Area north of Madison and then an area south of Madison likely going to see the peak of the shower and thunderstorm activity with areas picking up generally between 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of water tonight. Don't be surprised to get a little bit of small hail out of some of these thunderstorms as well. Then Friday evening, we got the Badger Homecoming Parade. That starts at 6 o'clock before the parade, 54. Temperatures in the 50s. You might want to dress a little bit on the warm side.
Bundle up just a bit for that one. Thanks for joining us. We're back in 30 minutes for News for Now at 6. Stay tuned now for the CBS Evening News.